So anyway, as I was saying before, we read papers. This is in the Critique magazine, Selfie Politics, the Political Commodification of Yourself by Hans-Georg Moeller. Lumpy says, but two things, it does put a wrench in the mainstream distraction and artificial goalposts that are supposed to make you happy. Yeah, I mean, but granted, are we really saying that capitalism is the way to be? Like the contemporary capitalistic, go get more stuff? I don't think most of us, at least here, would be like, okay, yeah, that was like a great idea. Yeah, but you need to have eternal cosmic influence to feel content's quite hubris. Yeah, delusional. Yeah, exactly. Like, why do I care about a 4 billion year problem? Like the idea that we won't be able to get away from the sun in the next few billion years. It's like, that's a lot of physics we're going to be able to do. I hope that in that amount of time, we will actually be intergalactic species. Lumen says philosophy actually is an answer for you because it gives your life direction rather than merely waiting for the next moment of pleasure. Well, that's great. It's like, good for you. I don't know if philosophy gives my life meaning, but it is a great distraction. Retheus says everything that exists is temporary, and I don't mean that in a stoner hippie way. That's fine, yeah. At least as far as I understand it. No, I mean, and this goes back to the great moral traditions, like say, the Buddhist sand art. Why do you make great art out of something that's inherently ephemeral? You do it to remind yourself that, like, as great as the world is, we're all just dust in the wind. It doesn't matter. It's okay. You notice Naomi Klein in the keywords, I'm guessing, is going to be rehashing her book, no logo. Maybe. They made a whole season of that cartoon. It's really effing intense. Yeah, well, I mean, if it's like that, if you're trying to do philosophy in cartoons, that is going to be intense. Absolutely. Yeah, Naomi Klein, interesting. All right. So, we'll find out. Here we go. And thank you, Vipers, for who suggested this. I think this was not Vipers. This is Tindarios. Okay, these two pictures show both difference and sameness. What pictures? We have pictures? I don't see any fucking pictures. So let's see. Wait, do I get the link or? Oh, damn it. No, I want link. Clicky. Wrong browser. I've got multiple browsers open because I'm trying to be a competent streamer. Okay, so we've got this one. Quick. And this one. Riot hipster, okay. Okay, so you see the guy taking a selfie in front of like a burning bit of trash. And then we've got a lady giving a selfie with some sort of book here. I don't know what this is. Pro-Trump counter-protest. Anti-Trump protest. So these are anti-Trump peoples, I guess. Okay. But yeah, two people taking pictures in front of different scenes. Okie dokie. Alright. So what did I just do? There we go. Okay, so those two pictures show both difference and sameness. They show two different and sometimes violently opposed political stances. A Trump supporter at a rally representing the right, and a protester against the G20 summit in Hamburg, Germany, representing the left. But they also show the sameness. Two attractive people taking a selfie to display their political activism, selfie politics. Selfie politics is not simply a case of narcissism. Wait, I need my music. I need like distraction in the back of my head going. So selfie politics is not simply a case of narcissism, as some have said, but an increasingly common and effective way of being political today, a kind of political commodification of the self. Yes, I don't know if this is really a contemporary thing. You always used political parties as a self-identification. Like, people have done that for a long time. Like, were you on the, this guy's appropriating my culture. That was literally your last tweet. Well, there you go. You were the girl in the Trump rally, right? Is that what you meant? That by guy there? Okay. A third picture shows influencer Chris Schatzel. So, okay. So there's other one. Let's go find out what this one is. All right, so it looks like the image is dead off that one, not holding up. Okay. Where was this? She was widely criticized for having posed for it at a Black Lives Matter protest. She defended herself against her critics by saying on Instagram, "Hope we can focus on the true cause as to why we were all here." Sure, Chris, let's do that. All right, so we have a little bit of snarkiness here. Lumpy says that book she was holding is from an alt-right influencer that got canceled hard by both sides, if I recall. I forgot his name. Yeah, I thought it was an anti-Trump protest, but they clarified here that it was a Trump thing, so those are all like sort of the very right-wingy types there. Okay. Political conflicts involve two moments: the conflicting objective political issues at stake and the personal commitment of the political activists to them, their subjective identification. Let's see. This is the link if you want to look it up. I don't want to have to like go zoom in on the image. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, so you're identifying as being part of a political movement. Am I in the MAGA crowd? Am I in the anti-MAGA crowd? In Hegel's language, the first is the in itself and the second is the for itself moment of politics. For conflict to arise, the mere existence of different political causes is not enough. People must make these causes their own to form competing factions. But what comes first and which comes second? Do I make the cause mine for the sake of cause or for the sake of myself? Or are these just two moments of the same thing? In Hegel's terms, politics is both in and for itself. Warning, NI political terms incoming. There was a TV show last night criticizing unionist marches, so some unionists posted a picture of an IRA march. Whataboutism embodied. Viper's Gratitude replied, "Ever ask yourself why your first instinct is to compare yourself to your Republican equivalent and not normal unionists who don't cosplay hard men for attention? It's because you have more in common with them uns, isn't it? How embarrassing." Yeah, that's a good point. When you start saying, "Hey, look, you're doing this too," it's like, well, that's not great. Yeah. It was Dangerous by Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Everyone started hating Milo after a while for some reason. I forget what he did, but it was bad. Yeah, he's an idiot. Like he had like a moment where he was like the most popular guy on the right, and then it was like, everyone was like, oh wait, no, he's just a nutcase. Stupid. Okay. Yeah, so there are political movements, and then people have to identify with political movements. I think he was like a pedo, which was the only reason the right stopped blocking him. Yeah, there's only a few things you really can't do. And like going after kids, I think you have to be gay and go after kids. If you're like, like if it's heterosexual, they forgive a lot of it. But like, yeah, it's like they still don't do that. Kevin Compile, what's up? He spoke positively about having a priest having a sexual relationship with him when he was underage. Yeah, like that's the sort of thing that will get you canceled. That's true. It's like no one likes the it's fine when Trump does it, yeah. So, and there's like such creepy stories about when he was judging the Miss Universe contest. It's like he's just a shitty person. Okay, the degree of difference between conflicting political causes does not determine the level of intensity with which these conflicts are personally experienced. Yeah, so again, how much do you take it on the political disagreements? Relatively small political differences can still be personally experienced as huge. It seems clear that the political difference between the left and right has considerably shrunk in recent history. In the 19th and 20th century, the left and the right fought for radically different political and economic systems. The right once stood for monarchy and authoritarian rule, while the left stood for a republican democracy. Later, the right stood for private property rights and capitalism, the left for a communist mode of production. Speaking in Marxist terms, the base structure was at stake, the economic and political foundation of society. Today, this is hardly the case anymore. Even mildly socialist reformers like Bernie Sanders or Jeremy Corbyn were sidelined by their own leftist parties as too radical. And the emblematic figurehead of the right used to be Donald Trump, the populist former TV host hardly able to formulate any meaningful ideological position in his Twitter tirades, which instead often consisted in petty personal attacks. Yeah, it's like the left in the United States is not that far left, and if you're thinking Donald Trump is a conservative, then conservative doesn't mean anything anymore. And creepy about Ivanka too, yes. Today's mainstream left and right, at least in the West, or in the United States, no longer fundamentally disagrees on socio-political issues. They all embrace liberalism, a free market economy, and the political preference of individual over collective interests. Many find it difficult, for instance, to detect any significant political shift from the right to the left after the recent American election. And yet, political identifications are as intense as ever. On the personal level, the divide is viscerally experienced. I am sure that some viewers with strong political convictions will emphatically disagree with what I just said. They will perceive the shift from Trump to Biden as momentous, either as a sort of overdue liberation if on the left, or as a horrific setback if on the right. Yeah, I think Tendario shared with me a graph, like if you actually map out the positions in terms of like the Democrats and Republicans in the United States, they're really not that far off compared to like hardcore, like, anarchists or whatever. We're all very similar here in the United States compared to other political parties that they could be. Who is to say what the right degree of personal investment in political differences is? This lack of a fixed proportionality is exploitable. Any seemingly trivial political or ideological difference can result in tremendous personal differences. Just think about the relatively minor, sometimes apparent, just technical differences between Protestantism and Catholicism, or between Sunni and Shia Islam, and the centuries of brutal bloodshed they resulted in. We can learn about how to exploit trivial technical differences for constructing huge personal differences from capitalist marketing. Lumen says they advocate for smaller policy differences, but no large-scale differences in modes of political organization. Yeah, it's yeah. Thank you, Tindarius. Yeah, the policies in the United States are basically pro-business, and it's just sort of different ways of selling that to the people. That's not to say the social policies are the same. Like, the Democrats are radically different from like the anti-abortionist crowd at this point on the right that are just like, hey, no more right to choose. It's like it's going backwards very quickly. But like as far as like business stuff goes, like the liberalism, it's everyone's the same, like, oh, pro-business stuff. You think you get what he's saying, but you think he's overstating it? I think this is still the beginning of the paper. And that's a fair criticism. I'm just saying it's the beginning of the paper. They're just setting up some sort of general framework here. I don't know exactly where they're going with this, but like it's overstated, but I don't know if it's going to make a big difference here. Yeah, so Lumen says, yeah, abortion is one of those issues where there is a difference, but even then Biden still won't fully use pro-choice language. No, but I think Biden is also trying to be as open to the conservatives who don't want to hear pro-choice language. Like he's trying to court the businessy sort of, we don't want things to change world conservatives, and they don't want to hear the rah-rah abortion language either. So, I mean, I see it as a political strategy. Then again, do I really think Biden is that like strong one way or the other? I don't know if he actually is. I suspect he's pro-choice mostly, but I suspect he's more political than, idealistic, or I don't know. Like, would he really like lose his political career over this at this point? I mean, he's old. He might not care, but like, would he die on the hill for abortion rights? I don't know. Okay. Apple's Get a Mac campaign is a good example. Some viewers may still remember this advertising campaign, which helped Apple to gain a substantial market share at the expense of Microsoft. The ads did talk about technical differences between Apple and Microsoft products, but in a highly personalized manner. Two actors represented Macs and PCs, and the ads consisted mainly in contrasting them. At the beginning of each ad, the actors would say, "I'm a Mac," and "I'm a PC," declaring personal identification with the products. Oh, I remember this. These were good ads. The Mac character was a good-looking and laid-back progressive guy, and the PC character a boring conservative nerd presented as less attractive. The message of the ads to computer buyers could not have been clearer. Make no mistake, the difference between Macs and PCs is not just about technology, it is about your personality. Along with a computer, you're buying a personal profile. The purchase of a PC will make your profile dork-like. If you buy a Mac, though, you'll get a cool profile boost. Lumen says, yeah, exactly, though I feel like Trump should make Dems doubt how necessary that kind of thing is. Oh, yeah. Viper says, some viewers, fuck you, author, another comment like that, and I'm going to gather my sagging testicles and leave. Yeah, well. I always, I don't, like, do I handle, like, trolls and criticism well? And the answer, compared to other streamers like our buddy Aris, is no. He does it much better than me. I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like, we had someone come in here a while back, and I was just like, you just sound like get off my lawn bullshit. Like, you have to explain yourself. You can't just be like, well, that's a little too radical for me. I'm like, I don't care if you're saying it's too radical. Explain your fucking shitty-ass position. Otherwise, it just sounds like you're angry at being old, and you're angry with the kids. Lumen says, as an Apple hater, I'm so mad about the long-term effects of that campaign. Well, why are you an Apple hater? Like, are you really a Microsoft fanboy? I mean, as people give me shit for, I'm running Linux, and I tell you people all the time. I actually don't. But, like, when it comes up, I do bring it up now because I think it's funny. Like, yes, this is Ubuntu. And yeah, it fucking breaks every so often. Goddamn annoying. So many clouds, so much yelling, yeah. I mean, back to Globus. Globus yells at the clouds. Yeah. The Get a Mac campaign was a major step in the history of profile-oriented advertising. Computers became a personal profile marker to an extent that they hadn't been before. After the Mac campaign, it was no longer possible to buy a computer without reflecting on the consequences that this decision has on one's persona. It attached it to a relatively minor technical difference. After all, people do more or less exactly the same things with Macs and PCs, a distinctive personal difference. The technical became personal. Lumpy says, I'm dipping into Linux via your Steam Deck. Yeah, like Linux for devices has been, I mean, your phones, all Android phones are Linux underneath. So like most servers in the world are Linux. We're dealing with Linux a lot, just not as a personal thing. So it's like, yeah, everyone, it works pretty well now. Lumen says, I feel like they're to blame for the kinds of changes that led to things like your phone not having a headphone jack. That's true. Viper says, I hate Apple because I'm a tech guy and Apple aren't a tech company, they're a fashion company. Well, that's what these people are claiming, that it's a personal identity company. So yeah. I mean, they used to be more of a tech company, but then they became a personal identity brand company. Yeah, so next sentence. The Mac campaign not only shows how the technical became personal, it shows how brands became profiles. So yeah, it's a brand company. Brands. There says, the abortion debate would be weird for Germans because most here are pro-choice. Yeah, well, the U.S. is not Europe. Like, it really is not. And definitely not in Germany. Excuse me. Okay, so, and Unreal says, for a long time, they were the only companies that made displays for your impaired vision. Yeah, so. No, I mean, again, but like that would have been one technical difference. Like, that's actually a technical difference that they made monitors of a certain size or quality or whatever. That would actually be a technical difference. And so the fact that they moved away from that sort of thing shows that they became a brand company. Yeah. The brand is an old-fashioned concept. It goes back to the branding of livestock by human owners ages ago. Later on, the logic of a brand changed. It indicated no longer an owner of something, but its manufacturer. Ford or Buick were brands of cars made by the company of a Mr. Ford or Mr. Buick. The effect of such brands was to create a certain prestige. They represented the reliability of a product by attaching it to the personal name of the maker, who thereby vouched for its quality. The brand added quality, a quality sign to a product, which increased its market value. In turn, this quality sign, and this is the essence of the brand, became a status symbol. Yeah, so this is why Trump wants to get his name on fancy things. Trump doesn't own all the things Trump name is on. He buys the naming rights because he wants the status associated with his name. So that's why, thank the fucking Lord, Trump Links is no longer called Trump Links. You'd be going over the Whitestone Bridge from New York to Queens, and you'd see the Trump Links, and now I forget what it's called, but like had a giant name of Trump, and it was always just irritating. Even before like you gave a shit who Trump really was, it was still irritating. And they finally got that crap off of there. There's a big golf course at the right next to the bridge. He's going to say Nike don't make sneakers? A symbol is a sign that matches or corresponds to something. A status symbol is a sign that matches and publicly expresses social status. Brands turned products into such status symbols. People were willing to pay more for a brand name card because it was not just good for driving, but also for representing a symbol, one's social status. The logic of the brand is that it is attached to a commodity to transform it into a status symbol. Yeah, and so like I've heard Marxist claim stuff about this because of where is the brand coming from, where is the value added. Well, it's the sort of you're selling like some value that was not added by the people, it's added somehow otherwise, and the fact that you can separate the brand from the quality of that's being made by the worker, like sort of takes something away from the worker. So the Marxists don't like this sort of thing. Yeah, so Nike makes brands, and the Chinese make like the Chinese factories that the kids that Nike employs. I don't know what the right way to say that is. They make the sneakers. The Nike makes the brand and then just sells the sneakers with their branding on it. The logic of the profile and marketing is different. It is more immediate, more direct. It functions as a shortcut to the buyer and avoids, at least to an extent, the detour via the thing. Yeah, so again, you're not selling the sneaker, you're selling the name of the brand. When the actor in the Get a Mac campaign says, "I'm a Mac," he impersonates not so much the computer, but its buyer. As a profile marker, Mac refers less to the qualities of what is bought and more to the qualities of who buys it. If you guys are even older, you might remember, dude, I'm getting a Dell. You remember the dude, I'm getting a Dell guy? And then it became a scandal when that guy got arrested for doing coke. And they were like, the Dell guy got arrested for doing coke. And this was after the campaign was over, like long time after it. And Dell had to do like damage control because like that guy who was the Dell guy got arrested for doing cocaine. And so it was like he became associated with Dell's name and it was bad for them. Same with the Subway guy. Yeah. The Subway guy was worse. Like coke in New York City. I think he was caught here in New York. Like that's... A lot of people do coke in New York City. That's not a big deal. A lot of people do coke. It's not bad. Jared from Subway, again, was a pedophile, and almost no one in this country puts up with that. Yeah. Viper says, Ivan might know about this. I think he's some sort of consultant. He offered to give you a branding branding session in his dungeon. That's so nice of... Ivan to, I know he runs his own business. So for him to give you a free session like that, that's really nice of Ivan. Yeah. Lumen says iPhone having blue text and people buying into the marketing. Oh, I'm imagining getting a green text for Brian Craig. Yeah. Coke in NYC is just having fun, lol. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of coke in New York City. So. Okay. Crucially, the profile does not function as a symbol in the strict sense of this term as a matching sign. It does not seek to complement a social quality, a status people already have, like Buick, which was marketed to people already in a certain class. Instead, the profile functions more like a signal. A signal, like a fashionable shirt, makes you fashionable. You weren't fashionable if you wouldn't wear it. Unlike a symbol which matches a quality you already have, a signal gives you this very quality. The difference between a Mac and PC owner is not a status difference, it's a difference in personality. Apple is not a brand symbolizing class status, it's a profile signal producing individual coolness. Nike expresses the logic of profile marketing perfectly. Make yourself. Instead of your shirt, you become the commodity. Yeah, so you buy this, you become a different person. You become the sort of person who has Apple products. You become the sort of person who has Nike products. It's not showing that you are this, but by buying it, you become that sort of person. Okay. Author says, this being said, brands have by no means disappeared. In China, for instance, a country where hundreds of millions of people have emerged from poverty in recent years, they are in great demand. Luxury brands are highly successful here. They serve the desire of many to symbolically match and represent their newly acquired middle or upper class status. Yeah, I mean, it's not just China. We have a word for this called the nouveau riche, where, old money would make fun of new money because the new money was trying to buy the status by doing, fancy things. And the old money was like, oh, you're just nouveau riche, the new rich. And it's like, you don't actually know what it's like. Is literally wearing a Doom t-shirt in this tracks? Yes, exactly. I gotta go pull out my old X-Files t-shirt. I have an X-Files t-shirt from the 90s. So that was cool. Lumen says, I was mad when I was visiting the cathedral in Vienna and was surrounded by luxury brand stores. Yeah, I mean, the luxury brands in Europe are kind of part of the culture though too. So it's like, I was in France a very long time ago, and like their luxury, what we consider their expensive brands here, I remember were cheaper there because it was like their local store. Like that's just their local perfume store was this fancy brand. I was like, can I actually be angry at them at being fancy just because we think it's fancy in America? It was just their local thing there. I was like, all right, I was less angry. Lumen says, though, then I went to New York, Fifth Avenue, New York City, and was like, why are all the same churches ruining my luxury brand experience? Yeah, I guess context matters in that case. Okay, so to the contrary, the author says, in countries like the United States of America, where the economic trend goes in the opposite direction, where the younger generations is now often poorer than the older, and where the middle class is in decline, the economy of the traditional brand no longer makes much sense. There, Apple or Nike does not want to symbolize upward social movement. There simply isn't that much social movement, but are curated as marketable signals of, for instance, being sufficiently progressive or socially conscious. The old-fashioned brand served class status is now of little use when products need to be marketed to people whose class status, along with their real wages, has been stagnating or declining. Instead of status symbols, however, you can sell these people valuable profile signals which miraculously make them more attractive despite getting poorer. Yeah, so you can, wear the woke clothing, and then it might not be that you're upper status, but it means you're, socially hip. Yeah. Lumpy says, back in Hong Kong, a co-worker from the mainland was telling that since Mao ran religion underground, the personal values of each person now stem mostly from their specific upbringing. Therefore, you see people are super well balanced alongside ultra-materialist people. Interesting, yeah, so people are people. They're going to attach themselves to things, and that's like super fascinating how that actually played out in that specific situation when they didn't have a big group sort of culture that, religion controlled or like the other things controlled. It became like personal. So that's a fascinating sort of social thing that happened there. Yeah. As a music person, the proliferation of Beats, AirPods, and etc., and you're like, no! Yeah. Shane says, hey, Shane, what's up? If that bullshit was true, then why the hell do we still see young people lining up to buy the iPhone 45? Yeah, this is not going to hold completely. This is definitely... Well, I think the point is, not all the brands are playing the same game in the United States at the moment. I agree with what you're saying. Young people still 100% care about status symbols, yes. But I think they're saying, look, this is not the only way that brands function here in America at the moment because of social decline. No one is really like looking for we're just going up and up. They're also looking for other things that signal their good qualities. But yeah, how you doing, Shane? Welcome in. Out to the Shane. Anyone who does not know Shane should go follow Shane. Shane is a historian and sociologist. He streams all of world history, one stream at a time, and he's basically our go-to for us like philosophers. When we actually have to know something about the world, we ask Shane. Other than that, like what actually happens in the world? Tell us, Shane, please. So yeah, definitely go follow Shane. He makes history accessible and interesting. And, the history you want, not the history you got like reading in the stodgy textbooks. No, the interesting, fun history where like people are doing crazy shit because people were doing crazy shit. And it's good times. May have been a long day. Yep. Happens. I stayed home from work today because of the amount of rain coming down and I had to sandbag. Fun times. Yeah, so what am I looking at? Yeah, better for lumens because, headphone stuff came down. Yeah, I got to buy some new speakers for my computer in the other room. They're starting to crackle. It's nothing. It's nasty, I mean. Another thing you notice is how being lucky is a moral virtue. Me misinterpreting. No, moral virtue is a lot in being lucky. And mostly it's also a lot in being wealthy that you don't have to make choices that, are bad. Like, if you have to put money on the table... food on the table and you don't have any money and there's no way to get money in your local area except for doing something scummy. Like say, you're in one of these poor parts of the world and the best way to make money is, working for the cartel that's like hacking people's computers and stealing their accounts. Look, it's just an IT job for you, but like if you can't like put food on the table otherwise, what are you going to do? It's like that's bad, but like happens. It's like I have a lot of trouble telling people like what they do is bad if like they need to make money to like live. Lumen says, I think it's saying there are status symbols, but just like that, the status symbols signify differently than pure opulence and wealth. Yeah, that's better than how I said it. Vipers says, now that Shane is here, can I finally explain how all this is due to globalization? Go right ahead, Vipers, if you think you can pull it off. Actual sandbags, no. There are more modern chemical products, so they're these really long things, and you put them out, and it's not actually sand. It's some sort of chemical that absorbs water and puffs up to like a stuff. You missed your Mesopotamia era? Oh, okay. You're roughly through the 1200s, yeah. Shane says, fuck that shit. You would figure that NYC would figure out drainage after Sandy. The problem is it's getting worse. We have worked on it, but our drains are from 120 years ago, and the weather now is getting worse. And I know they're working on it, but it's not like the old pipe system. What are we gonna do? We're gonna be able to make new pipes, pull up every single road? Not happening. So it's like they've done some things, but like it's not like you're talking about a city with pipes from the 1800s. So yeah, you become obsessed with Mesopotamia. Yeah. Because the rain nowadays is it's raining harder than it used to for longer for whatever reason. So yeah. So no, it wasn't that bad today. Like it didn't actually cause a problem, but like I put the water bags out. So yeah. Okay. Anyway. In her book, No Logo, first published in 1999, Naomi Klein offered an excellent critique of the contemporary economy. She showed in great clarity how corporations and advanced capitalism are no longer primarily concerned with producing and marketing things. Instead, they manufacture and curate logos, and through these, they deal in personal lifestyles. Thereby, they commodify personhood, especially for younger consumers. No Logo, in fact, describes the shift from traditional branding to modern profiling, but Klein did not use this terminological distinction. You saw that Pittsburgh was a bit of a flood mess today? Yeah, I mean, there's been big storms in the last, week. So, yeah. A quarter of a century ago? The 1800s? I said no. I said 120 years ago. 120, not a quarter. Yeah. Alright, so for her, the logo is just another word for brand. Today, however, we may regard the logo as indicating a more intense and invasive commodification of identity that follows the logic of the profile rather than the old logic of the brand. We appreciate now, McLean, yeah. Latino says this, how they understood it, even explains status symbols and just adds profile and marketing, explains how this is more important for some. Yeah, I mean, I think Viper said it earlier, that this person is a little bit... They may overstate their case a bit, but I think it's kind of a setup. Like the whole thing is a setup so far. They're getting to what they want to say now, but this is, if you look at the way this rhetoric is going, there's a bit of hyperbole in this article. And yeah, so it's not 100% this is right, but they're setting us up for the point they want to make, even if the stuff is not been perfect beforehand. So... Okay, in a new introduction to the 10th anniversary edition of No Logo, Klein hints at the implications of her economic critique for politics. Politics, too, she points out, now increasingly functions like what she conceives of as branding. She calls President Obama the first political super brand. Maybe we can say Obama is, if not the first, then at least an outstandingly successful political super profile. Did I fucking forget to do this? I did. Let me do that right now. No, this is fine for me. So yeah, you can, there we go. Are you trying to make your Twitch emote status symbol branding? That's a whole discussion on its own. Good night, Lumpy. Have a great night. Thanks for being here. That's the idea that everyone has their own little personal branding here on Twitch. It is a thing. This really is. So I've got my duck rabbit, but then I don't know if any of you guys know where these cheeks come from, but you spread them wide around Twitch, people will know who that is. Cardboard Cowboy has been around a long time. He's a popular person. He's not a huge streamer, but if you start dropping pirate software YAR emotes, people are going to know who you are, and then they're going to know you're a certain sort of guy, a certain sort of streamer. So it's yeah, and you guys don't know who Dan Matt is, but yeah, so... Of course, you got your Heidegger smile, and this is the Dan Matt. I like the Daniel Matt. If anyone doesn't know the Daniel Matt, I could give that guy a shout out too. This is one of my favorite streamers. He's a author. He's a fiction writer. So like, if you want more people who sit around talking about shit all day, you can go hang out with the Daniel Matt. But like, that's his creep emote. So it's like, he's not anyone on Twitch, but like, if you know who he is, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that. You're part of that community. And it's like, do I have any interesting emotes at the moment? I mean, nothing. No, I don't have any big emotes from anyone here. Like, I got gifted a lot of emotes at the beginning of this month. And this is one of the things about Twitch. You will get gifted emotes. Like, I always have a few streams up in the background, so Twitch must think I'm like, you know, here. I'm here a lot. But like, I'm not always actually paying attention to it. Baldur's, you'll follow. He hates Baldur's Gate. He fucking hates it. I think he's quitting Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. He hates Baldur's Gate 3 with a passion. He's considering dropping the game. But, yeah. You want to just count? Yeah. Well, that's what he's been doing the last, like, 2 weeks. And, like, or 3 weeks now, and he hates it. He's decided he doesn't like it anymore. But, yeah. He's still worth your time. But, I mean, it's just funny. You haven't played, but you assumed it was very good. Well, if you want an alternative opinion, you can go, he does not like the writing of the game, basically. As a writer, he really found the writing lacking there, so whatever. You can hear his critiques if you watch one of his more recent streams. But, yeah, so, like, this whole, like, branding thing is actually a big thing on Twitch. Oh, and fun fact, this is also his emote. This is Wanky the elephant. This is the Daniel Matt's elephant. And he was gifted this set of elephant emotes by a bigger streamer, Excessive Profanity, who I also like talk about sometimes. But like, and the reason it was called Wanky, he gave him the emotes, and then Excessive Profanity was like, "What's with you in those stupid elephants? It's like fucking wanky. Like, are you wanking off to this elephant or something?" And that's how it became Wanky the elephant. It saved the name. Yeah. You have to disable like half your gift sub emotes. Yeah, if you're around for whatever reason, Twitch gives it to you. And all of them have their own little branding. They all have their own little meanings in their own communities. It's a complicated thing, Twitch. So I was like, yeah, I'm sure all the people on like YouTube watching the VOD are like, what the fuck is he talking about? But like, yeah. Is it a personal commitment of yours to only have one? Me? Or like Tindarios? I have 3 emotes. I would like to have more. I mean to have more. I have Duck Rabbit, I have that and that. I have 3 because I made them myself. Well, actually, I didn't. I don't own the Duck Rabbit. I found the Duck Rabbit online in Web 2.0 days. I think I found the Duck Rabbit online in 2002 or 2003. Probably 2003. It disappeared off the internet at that time. You could actually disappear off the internet. And then I re-uploaded it in like 2007 or 2008. All images of that Duck Rabbit link back to my original upload. Yeah. So the one on the right is the Aeon Fluxi. We were discussing this last time. And the other one is actually a the fuck's his name? Who painted the Scream? My name recognition loses. The painter of the Scream, the Shriek, if you're from Europe. Yeah. And so that's actually one of, oh, wait. Hi, Daniel Matt. How you doing? I always wondered who'd be the first purple check in, my chat. You are, as far as I know, the first purple check to ever say anything here. So there you go. Monk. Yes. So it's it's called the Kiss from Monk. And that's the, emote. We were discussing emotes, so I was using your emotes as just an example. I wasn't actually saying anything, interesting. I gave you a shout. I may give you. What's going on? Streaming? I don't know. How are you doing? I was saying go hang out with the Daniel Matt, and they're like, oh, Baldur's Gate 3. I was like, he might not actually like Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, I did summon the Daniel Matt. Like I said, he's a lovely streamer. He's an author. He does fiction writing. I'm a philosopher. I do writing that no one can tell if it's right or wrong. So yeah, that's what brought you in. You were changing stuff and saw the notification. Yeah. So I was just saying we were discussing emotes because I'm reading a paper here about commodification and branding. So I was saying on Twitch we have our emotes and we brand ourselves based on like these little fucking pictures, and like all of a sudden they take over their own lives in our stream world, and you can identify different communities by whose emotes you use. So it's like, yeah, it's getting shelved. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, something new is coming up for the Daniel Matt in the future. I suggest you go watch it, everyone in the stream. But yeah, so if you haven't been here before, I do have actually like 16 people here, which is a lot for me. But I read papers and I critique them as we go. This is talking about politics and branding and shit. Cyberpunk 2077, nice. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll see how you like it, because if you didn't I'm hanging out when I get home from work. As Daniel Matt used to call me, the last hour crew, because I'd get home from work and I'd throw on his stuff. Yeah, Keanu and all whole sorts of stuff. You're expecting, well, that is the least difficult thing you've ever said, that you will have opinions. But yeah. All right. Anyway, where were we here? Okay, so Obama as a super profile, like the most brand conscious politician. Okay, so political election campaigns use the very same campaign strategies as commercial advertising, employing sometimes the very same people and pursue the same aim, making profiles. These days, as Nicholas Luhmann puts it, politics essentially consists in arranging how one is seen by public opinion so that one is observed more favorably than the competition. Now, I wonder about this. Generally, what you're really doing is you're not making the person perceived. You're making a background sense of the world, as I understand what's going on in television. You're trying to give a vibe is really what's going on. And then that person embodies the vibe of the world that they are trying to communicate. So Donald Trump is a disgusting human being. No one likes Donald Trump, but they want him to be in the world that these people envision. So it's not how they're the individual seen by public opinion, but how the world should be, and then you want Donald Trump there. Your Viper says, my political slogan would be, do I have to? Yeah. Daniel says, but yeah, cool stuff. This is usually a little busy time for you, but I hope you can catch some content. Thank you. Well, you're always welcome, of course, and I love your streams. So everyone else should go follow the Daniel Matt if you've not already. That's a good point. Both of them are kind of world making. Yeah, I went to a talk actually a week ago Friday on, last Friday on kind of TV stuff. I never do media analysis, but I went for separate reasons to a media analysis talk. And they were saying, look, it's not actually the content, but it's more the background understanding that the content presupposes. Because whatever actually happens is it's the nexus of the world, and you see the whole world kind of going. It's not really the person there. So Obama as a profile, you want to be in the world where Obama is in charge, is kind of what it is. Shane says, when political people push message, they choose a specific perspective on the world, and then they explain how the only way to achieve that world is through this candidate. So is that just a point about how people run campaigns? Because, that makes sense. I was talking about it kind of from the TV design, how people conceive of what the television is doing in terms of aesthetics. I was making an aesthetic point, but you're talking about the practical. So I think you're coming at it just from the opposite end, but I think we agree. Yeah. Okay, Lumen says this is why Clinton goes on SNL and dances with Beyonce. Yeah. So you're trying to be you want to be the cool politician. And if I haven't told you my Bill Clinton story, I have multiple Bill Clinton stories at this point. I have 2. So that's multiple of 1. So I bought my bed frame from the people who lived across the street from the Clintons in whatever fancy part of New York it was. It's not too far away from me, but you have to drive for a bit, and then you get to a fancy part of Westchester, and then I was talking to these people, and they said they always knew when the Clintons were in town because the Secret Service really liked playing with their dog because they had a cool golden retriever, and they pet the dogs. They always knew when the Clintons, when Bill was in town because of the Secret Service. They said when they moved in, they saw all the stuff happening, but they were just sitting there one day. Bill Clinton just opens their door, walks into their house, turns on their TV, puts Wheel of Fortune on, and sits down on their couch and just starts watching Wheel of Fortune. He's hey, I'm Bill. And they were shocked. They were what the fuck is happening? And they said within 10 minutes, they were Bill, you can't leave. You have to stay. We'll cook you food. We'll make you a cake. Don't go anywhere. And he's after 20 minutes or something, he left. But he said, he walks in and they were just all of a sudden, they were we want you to be our friend. We want you here. So yeah. Yeah, Shane. I have a weird life. I try to tell people I'm a strange person when my life is weird. It's like things are weird. And I mean, I'll tell my other Bill Clinton story, I guess. I don't need to. Do you think he's just a weird guy or he's just used to being entitled to do whatever? I think in discussion with other people who've dealt with politicians before, these people are just really fucking good at being personable. Like they are geniuses at interpersonal relations. So like basically, I think he's not. I think he's a weird guy, probably. A lot of these politicians are, but they're also like super geniuses at how to interact with like the public. Like they're just really good. One of my buddies at work was saying when he met one of the local council members, one time he said, basically you were just like, you wanted to do this guy favors. Like whatever it was, like you just want to do the guy favors. He said like some gangsters are like this too. You just want to do the mob boss favors. They have this personality that makes you want to help them out. That's the reason why flossers can never be kings. Yeah, maybe. I mean, flossers, whenever they've tried, they've failed miserably too. So it's like, yeah, we shouldn't even try. Sounds like a Bill Murray move. Bills are weird. Yeah, exactly. Being a flosser negatively selects for interpersonal skills. Yeah, I agree. That's true. As far as I don't know very many interpersonally skilled, well, some of them are just super nice people, but like, are they good at this real interpersonal stuff? I bet it's just easier to have a better life doing other things than being a philosopher. So if you are like a good at interpersonal stuff, you'll have an easier life and do other meaningful things than writing academic philosophy. Also, there's too much work in sitting alone. You just probably don't like it because you have to. Oh shit, my lights are flickering. That's not good. Why don't people like you, Kant? Well, Kant was known for his dinner parties and the mustard he made. Apparently he made a spicy mustard and people liked it and they'd go to his dinner parties and they'd comment on, his spicy mustard. Shane can do that sort of thing, but it feels fucking gross when you do. I've worked real hard I'm much better. Like I'm actually I can be personable. I am not naturally good at this. I've had to work at it. I am now not bad. But yeah, like, did I have interpersonal skills before? Some, but like I've gotten noticeably better in the last few years. I've just gotten better at it. Luminous says, I think some are probably fine it, but I think there are probably aren't as many flossers on the level of skill I'm talking about with politicians. Yeah, no. I think that's what politicians are good at. They get people to like want to do things. And that's how you run political stuff. You get people to want to go campaign for you and stuff. Who is the most personally dislikable of philosophers? Yeah, you can turn it on, but it's fucking exhausting. Yeah. So that's the thing. I can't turn it on to the degree other people can. I am just better than I used to be. That's all I'm going to claim. One of the Nazis. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like Hitler ran those giant rallies and well, to be fair, I don't know how he was personally. Like, he may have been very nice in person besides doing heinous things politically, but he may have been perfectly fine in everyday life. Again, we need a historian to tell us these things. Yes, me, exactly. Derrida, yeah, Schopenhauer is probably not very likable. Yeah. I don't know this stuff. Apparently, what was it? Plato was kind of a dick. Was he? I don't remember. You need Aris here. People did not like Aristotle. I did read this once. People really disliked Aristotle in the end. But I don't know if he was personally dislikable or they were just angry with him after he died. After Aristotle died, apparently they would it would be a sign of respect to name someone by name. Apparently for a long time, he was only referred to as the philosopher, which might sound cool to us, but it was like disrespectful not to say someone's name when referring to them. So for many years, apparently after Aristotle's death, he was just referred to as the philosopher. And so this was like a sign of great disrespect. And so I mean, yeah, I don't know. And that was in medieval philosophy, yeah. Brian says, I get the sense I read Safransky's bio that Nietzsche was pretty awkward and off-putting with most people. Yeah. I remembered some people talking about the history of Nietzsche and he wanted to be like in with the people and he just could never do it. So yeah. Heidegger follows that tradition by calling Hölderlin the poet. Yeah, that was different by now though. He meant it as respect. Shane says, but how fucking baller was it that 100% of everyone automatically knew who the philosopher was? Yeah, that was the problem. It's like everyone was like, Aristotle was the best philosopher, probably. I mean, as far as like overall philosophy goes, maybe ever. And that's why people are still Aristotelians. It's still like a thing to be Aristotelian because he was such an overall excellent philosopher. But like, he's just wrong about certain stuff, and we've corrected a lot of this. But still, as an overall, he may still be the greatest philosopher of all time. But yeah, definitely in reference to Aristotle, he must not have known it was bad. Yeah. Well, no, if you're, yeah, it became different. Like, it became cool later on, but at the time it wasn't. We still use so many of his categories. Viper says, wouldn't it be Socrates literally still spitting zingers as he's put to death? Yeah, but see, some people Socrates was like polarizing. I don't know if he was universally disliked. Some people really like Socrates, some people hated him. We were just like trying to figure out who was really disliked the whole time. Like who was personally icky. Like as opposed to like someone who was just like naturally likable. So I suspect there's some philosophers out there that are like the ones that just sit and write papers and no one knows who they never go out. They just write like their papers and send them off and people are like, wow, great philosophy, but like you never see them, so who knows. Yeah, there can be admiration for badassery. Oh, absolutely. Shooting zingers between choking down the hemlock, good. Yeah, well. Again, pissing off the political class in your city-state does not mean you're universally disliked. That may actually be people think that's a sign of respect. Like, you pissed off all the rich people. Maybe that's a good thing, but, yeah. Okay. Ah, shit. I'm coming up on 3 hours. This means I'm going to lose my mind soon. I do not know how people can stream for so long. Granted, I think what I'm doing is difficult. Like, I don't... Like, reading and explaining things in real time is hard for me. It's not easy, but, like, people who stream for a long time, it's like, oh my god, how do you do it? Ignore us? No, this is the whole stream. Yeah. I mean, good. Yeah, we've all lost... We're all mad here. That's fair. Reading takes more energy than gaming. Yeah, and reading and explaining and then trying to explain it to chat. It's, Yeah, it's not just me reading it. I'm trying to, like, process it real time. Anyway, let's not a whole lot more of this paper anyway. Thank you for finding stuff that is not too long. All right, the ideological difference between the mainstream left and right today may not be much more decisive than the technological differences between Macs and PCs. But just as marketing campaigns have succeeded in establishing significant personal profile differences between the owners of Macs and PCs, political campaigns have succeeded in establishing remarkable profile differences between those who identify as left and as right. Yeah, you're zonked by like 4 to 5 hours, but the Bloodborne stream I could go for like 10. Yeah. I mean, it's different between playing a game and reading and trying to like explain stuff. Unreal says, yeah, I was going to say some people's stream is just like hanging out in a hot tub, so I hear. Oh, yes. So you hear. I mean, what's it? Toad PhD. He used to hang out in a tub. In marketing, the shift from the brand to the profile cut the detour over the product short and aimed right at the identity of the buyer. Similarly, selfie politics is weak on political theory and instead zooms in on the identity of voters. The difference between left and right, like the difference between Macs and PCs, is not so much a difference of the object or the in itself, but the subject, the for itself. The difference is you. You're going to start reading from a hot tub? That's what they were suggesting at the beginning of this stream, actually, Luminance. We've come full circle at this point. Like, before you were here, I think they were suggesting a hot tub stream. Maybe it was when you got here. I forget if that was before or after the raid. Okay, the two photos of the Trump supporter and the G20 protesters show. Both on the right and on the left, political activism is often inseparable from profile work. In the liberal societies of the West, politics is in a more or less constant election mode. Permanent political campaigns advertise different personality styles, different gestures, different vocabularies, different attitudes that enable their supporters to stand out and to be more attractive to one another. In the age of the profile, politics too is about increasing profile value. Yeah, I mean, who do you vote for? Who do you think is cool? Like, what's it called? Like, if you are on the far left, you have to be kind of very far left, and who you politically associate with. I don't think Ivan is going to be well liked on the politically very far left. Yeah. talked about embodiment in a Speedo. I mean, there's a question about like swim gear and like sexy outfits. Actually, what's it called? Didn't someone say something about like Merleau-Ponty and like, sexiness? Like, how do we interact physically with each other? So it's like, yeah, there's gonna be an embodiness and like sexiness, and that all gets has good old psychology and philosophy associated with it. Anyway, to make even small political differences personally relevant, and what is more, to make them emotionally appealing, politics employs a rhetorical tool proven to be most effective over millennia. Outrage, yes. Well, this is all outrage porn. Shane says this person is on the right track of what they mean, but they haven't read enough political theory or sociology to explain it properly. I think they're right, but they aren't saying it in the best way. Yeah, I think this paper is a little bit light. I agree. I don't know enough about it to actually make a critique like you're saying that there are better ways of doing this. Yeah. Aussies have the best phrase of Speedos for Speedos. Oh, like what? Thongs? Or what do they say? I mean, I know they call flip-flops thongs, which I find very hilarious. Yeah. A Bugsy smugglers. That's excellent. I mean, isn't that a bird? Okay, it may be difficult to point out what exactly is so dramatically worse about the other side's politics, especially if, as it seems the case with the current Biden administration, there is no desire to change much when taking over political power. However, if outrage is politically utilized, amplified, and publicly validated, it creates political loyalty, like brand loyalty. Protest selfies show that protests are highly photogenic, at least as much as pop concerts, parties, or holiday trips. Yeah. So yeah, it's a parakeet. Yeah, it's a bird. Birdie. In the old days of the brand, marketing was based on producing class-related status symbols. Similarly, political differences tended to reflect different class interests. In the age of the profile, liberal marketing and politics woo a middle class that has lost hope of getting richer anytime soon, but craves being more visible and more interesting. Politics today, like marketing, produces an endless supply of self-profiling opportunities. No wonder then that at political protests, the very same people who display their political cause tend to display their fashion profiles at the same time. Where there is Black Lives Matter, Nike isn't far away. That's political commodification. Yeah. Loman says, this seems mostly right to me, but it doesn't seem to me as totally unique to the present as they're suggesting. And we have a middle class. Well, yeah, I mean, there's got to be someone in the middle. Like there's that one person in the median that has to be middle class. So yeah, I don't know how big the middle class is. What year is this? We could what year did this thing come out? We are at the bottom of page 6. This is 2021. Okay. So it's not that long ago. Yeah. Okay. The slogan, "The personal is political," was coined by the feminist activist Carol Hanisch at the end of the 60s. Hanisch pointed out that many of the seemingly personal problems experienced by women, especially psychological and sexual problems, were actually effects of the problems of patriarchal society that systematically oppresses women. They were, in fact, political problems and not personal problems at all. Thus, the personal is political for Hanisch meant the personal is not the issue. The real issue is the political. Much to Hanisch's dismay, the slogan took on a completely different meaning when identity politics as we know it today emerged in the 1970s. Identity politics tended to regard personal identity, especially race and gender identity, as the essential foundation of political action. From this perspective, personal identity is not only the source, but also the point of politics. Politics is supposed to be all about the personal, so that the real political issue, contrary to what Hanisch meant, is indeed the personal. Luminance says, cue the classic image of the many different Uber Twitter accounts, all with the pride flag logos except conspicuously absent on the Middle Eastern and Chinese Uber official accounts. Yes. Shane says, I don't think this person has ever heard the phrase symbolic interactionism. I think the author thinks he's the first person to say this. Yeah, that's how this is reading, that they're just trying to give an outline of this theory, and clearly this is not the first time this has been said. This is the end too. Today, under conditions of profilicity. Identity is formed through the curation and validation of profiles. Hanish's slogan can now be understood in a third sense. The political is personal because politics can boost personal profiles. In the age of the profile, politics is not so much a symbolic expression of what we already are, of our class status, for instance. Instead, it can be a signal we send out to make ourselves. And it is through the political performance that genuine political identity is created and achieved. When you identify with the cause in the age of the profile, the cause is also your profile. Unreal says, yeah, I don't think I'm hearing anything I haven't heard 1,000 times before. Often worked out a lot more. Yeah, this is light, I guess, as it were. Yeah, and Vipers is chiming in also that this is not even new. Like, this is 25 years too late, maybe. In liberal democracies, political parties and movements often operate similar to corporations. They manufacture and advertise differing personal profile signals. This is effective. Profile synergies emerge between parties, movements, and voters. People can become more attractive by displaying political signals. This is the political commodification of yourself. Political parties are busy exploiting such commodification potentials. Arguably, in times of profilicity, it is actually their core business. Goffman wrote this in 1956. Okay, yeah. It reminds me of a paper you should recommend. Well, there's always recommendations. Okay. All right. A day after we posted our first video on Philosophy Tube. Oh, interesting. What is this? If this is the Philosophy Tube person, is this like a write-up of... Yeah. Again, this is a weird paper for all the reasons you're saying right here. Usually philosophy is trying to say something new, or at least something historical if it isn't new, and this is doing neither of those things. But like the idea that they posted their first video on Philosophy Tube, the presenter of that channel came out as a trans woman, declaring that she's presenting her real self. A day after the first draft of the script was written, Intel published an ad titled Justin Gets Real, or Justin Long, the actor who previously claimed I'm a Mac, declares I am Justin, just a real person doing a real comparison between a Mac and a PC. There's difference and sameness in these declarations about being a real person. The point of the notion of profilicity is to understand them. So yeah. You don't think this Philosophy Tube, I forgot her name, but yeah, it's not her. Yeah, no. They posted their first video on Philosophy Tube. It looks like this was a poorly stated sentence. Like they're using on. They meant they made a video about Philosophy Tube, not on the channel Philosophy Tube. Yeah, I didn't get that the first time either. New reaction, old hash, rehashing stuff that's been sitting around all day. Yeah. So, well, you know what we get to do now? We get to review it. And you get to use the emotes. So again, if this is, made promises it couldn't fulfill, that's for Nog Grapes. Big claims it shriveled up because this is not giving you anything new. Or you could give this all style, no substance, although, I didn't think the writing here was bad. I thought the writing here was fine. Is it Abigail Thorne? There's a couple of related channels you mix up. I don't know. That's the one. Okay. But anyway, if you have not been here, we review now. You get to use the emotes you see in chat and on screen. You have to type exactly. Sorry, I always forget which way we're going. If it's like got fun ideas, brain dance. If it made big ideas that shrivel up, that's for Nog Grapes. The grapes turn into raisins. Nog Navel, only for academic navel gazing. Ouroboros for deep or ancient ideas. Scream for existential or artistic drama. I mean, this is the political drama here. It's a little bit. This got something about what it is, who you are, so that's a little fair. Nog Turd for all style, no substance. Still poop underneath. I mean, I don't think it was poop. I just think it was just nothing new. And Nog Knife for slicing and dicing arguments. Yeah, I don't know if this is getting a knife. And then, of course, you've got the global vote yay, vote nay, and vote meh. The vote meh is not global, but the vote yay and vote nay are global Twitch emotes. Yeah, you think you missed use the poop emote? That's okay. It's fine. You could say it looked good, but it was whatever. It is entirely up to your personal choice. So we're getting a bunch of mehs and grapes, and I may have framed the discussion a little bit on this one. I don't care. That's my prerogative. I'm the fucking streamer. I get to say what I want. So I'm also giving it grapes. I'm gonna give it 2 fucking grapes because I do actually take into account if you reuse emotes. And so actually, the only one I don't reuse is vote meh. If you say it's very meh and you say it's very meh many times, actually maybe I will. Maybe I'll change the math on that. Luminance says the real ideas have been digested and pooped out here, nutritionless form. It's small. My stream I'll say meh if I want to. Exactly, Brian. Exactly, Unreal. Okay. And see, one of the funny things, the difference between me and many of you, I don't know any of this theory, so I could not have told you that this is actually not new. I would have said, I think I've heard stuff like this before, but I couldn't have actually said that. So I did not know that this is like rehashed a million times over. Like, I have no problem telling you this. This is not what I do. And so it's like I was discussing at the very beginning of stream, like Wittgensteinian metaphysics. Okay? That's what I think about. I was not thinking about like political theory and all this stuff. So I don't know. But like, it's good that you guys are all here to let me know, because otherwise I'd be like, hey, this sounded great to me. So we're going to give this a vote, I guess. Also. Yeah. It's from Hans-Georg Mahler, who is a professor at the University of Macau, China. He's also a YouTube channel, Carefree Wandering. Okay, I mean, that's cool. Debate here recurs in the left every single day, sure. Too bad Infernal isn't here. Yeah, Infernal's been kind of sick. It was kind of annoying. Yeah, I know she'd give this shit too. This is, because last time this happened where we were talking some politics, she was like, this is very meh. I've heard this a million times already, and all the politics and stuff too. So yeah. Yep. But okay, I'll give you guys another few seconds. If anyone else wants to get their vote in, please do so now, and then we'll go find someone to